You stand at the edge of a storm. Behind you, the roaring crowds of industry cheer your every step. Before you, a tide of dissent gathers, voices rising like thunder in a darkening sky. This is the beginning of the reckoning, when the very foundations you built from grit and conviction quake under the weight of public outrage. They call you ruthless. They call you greedy. They call you a monopolist. Yet you know this moment for what it truly is, the crucible in which your vision must prove itself unbreakable. In the glare of scrutiny, clarity becomes your greatest weapon. You remember those first days in Cleveland, wide-eyed with possibility. Every oil-slick droplet promising more than fuel, the raw power to reshape an error. You saw what others dismissed as muck, and in that muck you discovered purpose. Purpose drives you still, not power for its own sake, but power wielded with deliberation, shaped by a vision so precise that even your critics cannot fully define it. Belief is forged in that clarity. When the papers decree your methods, when rival magnates whisper conspiracy, you hold fast to a single truth. Success is not gifted. It is wrested from the void by those prepared to act. Carnegie built steel. Edison lit the darkness. Ford set the world in motion. And you, John D. Rockefeller, would harness oil to illuminate, to warm, to feed the engines of progress. Each barrel refined, each refinery consolidated, was another stroke on the canvas of tomorrow. Yet with belief comes the burden of responsibility. You are not merely a man selling kerosene. You are the steward of an emerging civilization. Every decision ripples beyond balance sheets into towns where lamp posts stand idle, into factories waiting for fuel, into homes longing for light. This responsibility demands discipline, like any drill sergeant's call. Unwavering, precise, merciless to distractions. Discipline is the rhythm in the heartbeat of your empire. Action follows discipline. When a rival undercuts your price, you respond not with panic, but with strategic force. You lower. You outproduce. You optimize your pipelines. Where they see cost, you see leverage. Where they see a threat, you see an opportunity to fortify your stance. Action is never reaction. It is premeditated motion along a path you have already mapped in the silence of your study, in the flicker of oil lamps long after midnight. But no empire rises without resistance. The public's sentiment shifts as headlines dramatize every acquisition, every negotiation, every private counsel. Newspaper editors paint you as the villain of modern commerce, an embodiment of corporate avarice. They brand your trust as a stranglehold. They demand antitrust intervention. They summon congressional inquiries. They rally populist outrage. And from the roar of condemnation you hear two messages. One is fear. The other is opportunity. Fear whispers that your empire is fragile, built more on momentum than on moral right. But opportunity, the louder, more insistent voice, reminds you that crisis births reinvention. When the people question your motives, you answer not with denial but with proof. Proof of your convictions. Proof of your contributions. Philanthropy is your counterpunch. Endowments to education, to medical research, to public health, they are not empty gestures, but declarations. That legacy is measured not solely in coffers, but in communities uplifted. Resilience is the alloy that binds these elements: clarity, belief, discipline, action, purpose, and philanthropy into something that bends but never breaks. When suits are filed and statues loom, you adapt. You refine your corporate structure. You revise your governance. You open transparent ledgers to trusted eyes. You absorb each blow with the composure of a statesman defending a nation's future rather than a tycoon defending his assets. Yet adaptability has limits. Principle does not bend like pliant steel. You will not sacrifice integrity for expedience. You refuse shortcuts that dilute the very vision that carried you here. In the halls of negotiation, you stand unbowed, insisting on terms that preserve your long-term horizon. Even when short-term critics clamor for immediate relief, they see only the surface. You see a deeper current, the lifeblood of innovation that must flow without obstruction. And so the backlash becomes your forge. Public anger hammers at your resolve. Legislative probes temper your strategies. Courtroom drummers test your mettle. But with every strike, you emerge more defined, more focused. The roar of condemnation becomes a rallying cry to refine your purpose, to prove that true leadership navigates storms rather than flees them. This is the sermon you deliver to yourself in the quiet hours, when the world outside equates success with selfish gain. You remind yourself that power is a vessel. It can corrupt, it can empower, it can transform. Your choice, always, is how to fill that vessel. Will you hoard it for vanity, or pour it back into the world to uplift? The answers are etched in the memorials you build: libraries, universities, research institutes, foundations that bear your name long after the oil slicks settle. But you are not content to rest on legacy alone. You press forward into adaptability, foreseeing that tomorrow's engine will not run on coal or kerosene, but on discoveries yet to be made. You invest in scientific inquiry, in emerging technologies, in pioneers who will shatter today's assumptions. This is how you turn backlash into breakthrough, by never losing sight of a future that demands transformation. And so the narrative shifts again, from titan to tyrant, from villain to visionary. The arc of public perception can bend, but only if you wield influence with wisdom and foresight. You open dialogues with critics. You invite scrutiny into your operations. You champion regulations that tamed your rivals, but that you yourself now embrace as standards of excellence. In this alchemy of perception, you become more than a magnate. You become a steward of progress, a living testament to the principle that true power is responsible power. When newspapers' ink fades, when statutes lapse, what endures is the brightness of lamps lit by your oil and the institutions built by your hand. The storm of backlash still rages beyond these walls. But inside, you stand unshaken. Every challenge has revealed a new facet of your character. The clarity to cut through noise, the belief that transcends doubt, the discipline to stay the course, the action to seize opportunity, the resilience to weather every gale, and the legacy that outlives every critic. This is the moment when history judges whether you crumble under public disdain or rise above it, forging your empire into something more than itself, a beacon of transformative power. And as you lean forward toward that beacon, you know that the true test is not merely survival, but evolution. For empires that endure are those that adapt without fearing change, that harness adversity as the spark of renewal, that see in every backlash the promise of a bolder tomorrow. In the crucible of public scrutiny, you do not merely defend your empire, you redefine it.